So one of the biggest questions that I have pondered over several times throughout my life over many years since the age of curiosity is, what is the purpose or what is the meaning of life? Why do I exist? Why do we exist? What is the purpose that we serve here? And um this this is something that gets a lot of people interested into philosophy. Was one of the reasons I was interested in philosophy, because this was a question that I always asked myself. And when I started reading philosophy, this seemed to be the fundamental question that a lot of people have asked throughout their lives, almost all of them. And again, this becomes a very significant question in itself, because if we don't answer this question, then how can we answer any other question? That because every other question will precede this particular question or the answer to this question. Hence, answering this question becomes very fundamental to life. But a lot of people have attempted to answer this question, and one of the uh, one of the really interesting school of thoughts on this is existentialism. And I mean, even if a person who isn't as interested in philosophy may have had an introduction to existentialism, because it has become a part of the pop culture, the mainstream culture of our lives. So a lot of these existential thinkers, they try to answer this question. They gave an answer to this question, in fact. And again, it's a philosophical answer. I mean, answer to a philosophical question isn't objective in nature. It's very subjective. It's you take it or leave it kind of a thing. And so basically what they say is, the meaning of there is no meaning of life. It's absurd. There is no meaning of our lives is what they're saying, because if you see anything around us, any object that exists that has an inherent meaning to it, has a purpose that it serves, like a book, it serves a purpose. Like a bottle serves a purpose, a table serves a purpose. It is the existence of it entails that it would serve a purpose. If it didn't serve a purpose, it wouldn't exist. That's what it is. The essence precedes existence. And until the existential philosophers came and they said that existence precedes essence, I think this was either Sartre or it was Albert. I think it was Sartre who said this. And the other famous existential philosopher is Albert Camus, the writer of the book The Stranger. Um, Basically, they're saying that there is no meaning to our lives. It's meaningless, and on top of it, it's absurd. You just randomly exist, and that's it. And what it leads to is 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 the famous existentialist nihilist question, which is, if there is no meaning to life, if it's all absurd, then why do anything at all? Which is that if there is no meaning to life, people tend to become nihilist. And that is the I think that is where existential crisis comes from. If there is no meaning to life, then why do anything at all? Why do I have to be anything at all? Why do I have to pursue anything at all? Why do I have to study? Why do I have to make this video? Why do I have to learn English? Why do I have to learn French? Why do I have to learn anything in this world? Why do I have to do anything in this world? I can simply do nothing. But the imperative here is that since there is no meaning to life, you don't just get to have your own meaning to life. You just don't get to give meaning to your life. It's something that you have to. You have to give a meaning to your life. There is no way around it. You have to become something. Um, Everything is a choice. If you say that I don't want to become anything, you'll end up becoming something. If you say that I don't want to pursue anything, I'll just be a drug addict, which is something you can be in the next moment. um that in itself is being something. You can say, well, I can be a thief. um that in itself again is a choice that you're making. So the imperative here is, since life is meaningless, you will have to give it a meaning. You will have to become something. There is no other way around it. Now, something that something that I always thought was, if um if life is meaningless, and if I have to give it a meaning, if I have to become something, then why do I have to pick a difficult path? And difficult path is often considered the noble path, considered the righteous path. For example, um again, noble and righteous being subjective here, but it's somewhat unanimously, almost unanimously considered as something noble, a noble pursuit. For example, become a painter, become a singer, become a dancer, become a billionaire, become dreams are I mean, they range from you dreaming of a car that you want to buy um, in your future, you wanting to make six figures, you want to, let's say, again, become a cricketer, basketball player, whatever it is. um these are these cannot be objectively considered as noble pursuits, but they are not whatever the opposite of noble is, malevolent pursuits as well. These, they may fall somewhere down the middle for a lot of people. For a lot of people it may seem noble, but I don't think anyone can consider these as malevolent. I mean, again, exceptions being becoming rich, dreaming of 6 million, oh sorry, six figures, or dreaming of buying a rich car, or buying a very exotic car, whatever it is. It may seem, uh, I don't know the word, which would describe something opposite to noble to a lot of people, but again, to the majority, these are the pursuits. These are something that no one will question you. Your parents wouldn't question you. Your teachers wouldn't question you if you would pursue these things. Again, there are exceptions. If you're a man, a lot of people may question you if you try to pursue a feminine dance form. Um, Again, these are exceptions, but generally speaking, these are the dreams um that we pick from. And why is that the case is something I wondered. And I will paraphrase Sapiens from Yuval Noah Harari, um, where I read that he said, it's basically, again, I'm paraphrasing here, the dreams that we choose are put out in front of us, I mean, laid out in front of us by capitalists. So there's these dreams are rife with capitalism. You want to be free. I want to travel the world, and you want to be free. These are the feelings that is acquainted with traveling, and traveling is expensive. Would um Traveling would entail um that the rich would make money out of you, out of your travels. um for example, Greenland is very expensive. It's such a beautiful place, but I found out it's very expensive. um so, and that's the thing. I mean, if you want to feel free, you can feel free in your room. This is again something that um, uh, something I can suggest here is The Art of Travel by Alain de Botton, who says that if you're not happy in your room, you cannot be happy anywhere else in the world. And a lot of people, they travel to feel happy, but as you would only feel happy as long as it's all mellow, it's all something that is aloof from your day-to-day existence, day-to-day melancholic or the regularness of life. As uh, I forgot, Chris Moltisanti would put, um, from Sopranos. Again, coming back to the point here. Point being, why do I mean, again, let's just paraphrase the discussion, is that if life is meaningless, you have to make a choice, which is imperative. Why does it have to be noble? Why does it have to be whatever is uh, considered to be a righteous dream, a valid or not a malevolent dream? You cannot dream of becoming a drug addict, is something that wouldn't be encouraged by the society. And again, this is the second point. First being capitalism, your dreams are rife with capitalism. That's one thing. But the other thing is, it's also hugely influenced by the society, by the people around us. That is one of the reasons you wouldn't want to be a drug addict. I remember uh, Dun 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 something from this kid from Bokaro. This meme went viral when I was young. Kamlesh, right? There's this drug addict, a kid whose name is Kamlesh, and the interviewer. It's a very serious documentary I watched back when the meme got famous, but it's also a meme. It's a funny meme where the interviewer asks this kid from Bhopal, India, what do you want to, where are you from? He said, Bhopal. How did you come here? Don't know. And he was high on drugs. He was high on whatever it was he was taking, whatever type of drug he was taking, but he was taking drugs, and he didn't see anything immoral with it, right? And he aspired. He said, "Well, I'll just this is how I spend my life. I do drugs and I enjoy my life. There's no issue with it." And how does he really draw that? I mean, from his eyes, he doesn't see this act to be immoral. He doesn't see this activity to be immoral. And whatever he aspires to do, whatever he aims, whatever his dreams are, is not immoral to him, but it's immoral from our point of view. I mean, you can say it's objective because drug will eat him alive. His body will decay. But from a social point of view, um, it, it's immoral to us, and it's moral to him, and he may pursue it, right? But again, these are the exceptions that I don't want to consider here, because generally these are not the dreams that people see. These are not the kind of personality that we aspire to be, right? And question being, why is that? And we discussed two points, two aspects to this, two reasons for this that I feel personally. Um, and the third is what, uh, I forgot the complete name of Sartre, Jean-Paul Sartre. Jean-Paul Sartre or Albert Camus would say the imperative is not just that you have to make a choice, you have to be something. The imperative is also that you have to take responsibility for that choice, for the choice you make, is what we say, right? You made the choice, you have to live with the choices that you make. So you have to be something, but it doesn't just end there. You may question, why does it have to be noble? And the follow up is that you would have to live with the choices that you make. You would have to take the responsibility of the choices that you make. Um, and that's why I think the dreams that we dream of, I mean, the aims, the goal, whatever we aspire to be, is always a noble pursuit for us, or quote and unquote noble pursuit for us, because we would love to take that responsibility. Um, we would love to be responsible the kind of for the kind of person that we become, right? Um, so again, the point being that we don't have any meaning to our life, you know, and we can be anything. And if we can be anything, why we may as well not be anything? We may as well be nothing. But that's not the choice. That's not a choice. I mean, you cannot be nothing for one. You may be a bum, as they call it, and you may be proud with it, but the responsibility is something that goes with it. And again, I'll paraphrase what I saw in Waking Life, is that your life is yours to create. So you might as well create a beautiful life. It's not the quote. I won't quote that, but I think I just made that quote. So yeah, that's what I was reading upon. And yes, so yeah, the other thing is that, yeah, that's about it. Okay, so now that we have determined that we have to find a meaning, and we have to strive to become something, and um we need to have a purpose in life, is something um that's unavoidable, that's not optional, according to Sartre. Then one must explore how do we go about doing it. And and I feel we already have been doing that for most of our lives without knowing it, or while knowing it. It's not news to us that we everyone wants to become something, and everyone wants to become something noble, right? And we are finding the purpose and meaning of our life. But this in itself is a criticism of existentialism, that we mm, that life since existentialism claims that life doesn't have any intrinsic meaning, and hence we have to figure it out, and we have to create our own meanings in our life, um, is a task that's very overwhelming. And it's it would entail a lot of suffering, and hence it's a philosophy of despair, is something that people claim. um Religion, I feel, religion has an answer to this. Religion gives you a predetermined set of meaning, a purpose that you have to serve, and it sells a lot. Everyone buys it, buys into that worldview, that uh, there is a predetermined purpose. There is a reason why you exist. And almost every religion would have this preface of mm, pre-built meaning to their followers' lives. And this is something that Heidegger uh, talks about. They say that Heidegger says, I will paraphrase. Heidegger says that we are all thrown into this world, and since we don't know where to go, what how to find the purpose, and what's our purpose in life, what's the meaning of it, we tend to fall into these um, well constructed box of confinements of purposes, and and we are fine with it, we are content with it for the longest time until we become aware of the rigidness of it, or the quotidianness, or the monotonous nature of it. Or once we become aware of the fact that this is a pre-constructed um, um, notion of meaning that was served to you rather than something that you chose to accept, is after which you feel this void within your life manifesting itself. But even people who doesn't buy this religious notion of predetermined meaning, they are not um, free of this dread, this existential dread, this feeling of the encompassing nothingness, void. Um, so there's this show called The Sopranos. It's one of my favorite shows. There's a character in this show called Christopher Moltisanti, who is an existentialist character, or is a person who's going through existential crisis, or existential dread, I would say. He feels that his life is too monotonous, and he says in a scene that this regularness of life is killing me. Um, and that's the thing, the regularness, the monotonicity, the quotidianness of life is um, quite underwhelming, and there's nothing that excites you, and it is a sort of a depression, is something Victor E. Frankl talks about. I'll discuss that later. So um, so hence it's quite pessimistic, the fact that we don't have any meaning and we have to do it all by ourselves. So people would find refuge in religion until they become aware of it, until they become aware of the fact that there was no uh, i- it was not a rational choice that they made, rather it was something given to them. And then we're all on the same page. Meaningless and dreadful. So uh, Schopenhauer is a pessimistic philosopher, not a hardcore pessimistic philosopher. He is referred to as neo-pessimistic philosopher, which is not a hardcore pessimist, rather a pessimist with a slight hint of optimism with it. So Schopenhauer gives a way out of this. Schopenhauer says, and I paraphrase, he says that life is insatiable striving towards something, and striving would entail suffering, and hence you'll always suffer. So pessimistic. But he offers a way out, which is inspired by Buddhist writings, because he was into Buddhism. Um, so he says, in order to escape this suffering, you must renounce all your desires and resign. Um, so renunciation and resignation of all the desires is a way out. But again, that is a very idealistic way to follow for a lot of people, including me. So, again, just to give a quick example, going back to Sopranos, Christopher Moltisanti, he wants to go to Hollywood. He has a dream, but he's in the mafia. Um, so he can't leave mafia. He can't sell his stories, um, because that would be doxing his group, his mob, his family. But he expresses this desire to another character, Polly. He he expresses this desire to him, that, and he expresses this despair that's bottled up inside him. He says that there has to be something more to life. There has to be a calling that I need to discover, and he's fed up of this monotonous lifestyle that he's leading, he feels that there is a greater cause, there's a greater purpose that he needs to serve, or he's destined for something greater than this. And Polly, on the other hand, is a completely opposite character. He feels that he, on the other hand, is fine where he is. He's content with his uh, current status, and he's always been content. So that sort of symbolizes the resignation of desires that Schopenhauer talks about. But the reason I feel that is it is something that's very it's something that's not very pragmatic, is because later down the line, again, Polly is not an ideal example of Schopenhauer's philosophy by any means, but it fits in this context. Um, Down the line, Polly is jealous of Christopher's success, Christopher's uh, promotion of becoming a made guy. Um, and that shows this is a guy who wants something, who wants authority, who wants power over other crew members, especially younger crew members like Christopher Moltisanti. So this renunciation of desire is too much of an idealistic approach, too idealistic way out, and hence not a viable option for me or a lot of people. So what is a viable option? I feel there is no way out. It's either this idealistic stance that you take, which is a lot of people, they take this, they become monks and they renounce all the desires. So this is one way out, that is an absolute resignation of desires, um, or you suffer. Um, so again, mm, how do we feel when we don't have any meaning or purpose to serve, when we are finding but not actually finding, not actively finding? There is a void. There is a void that encompasses us, right? This is something that Viktor E. Frankl I talked about. He is a psycho. He was a, a psychoanalyst, I think, a Viennese psychoanalyst who was in the Auschwitz, and he made out alive and wrote this book called A Man's Search for Meaning. And he set up a school of thought called logotherapy, which would help people determine their meaning of life. So Viktor E. Frankl says that when all your daily chores or your busy routines, when you're rid of yourself of your busy routines, for example, your Monday to Friday college, school, or job, and especially job, and on your weekends when you don't have anything to do, you this void within your life, it manifests itself, and you feel the existential dread, is something Viktor E. Frankl calls the Sunday neurosis. And he says Sunday neurosis is a kind of a depression which takes over you, which afflicts you when you are rid of the busy routines, and you're aware of the void that comes right after that, when you don't have anything to do. So um so it's basically when, if you don't have any natural calling, or in a much more dumbed down sense, if you don't have anything to do, you're bound to feel this existential dread. It doesn't mean if you're doing something you wouldn't feel it. You have to do something meaningful. um so for example, recently I've been bombarded with these reels, um kind of reels which would say, uh, which would go like, the reason you're not happy is because you're not doing side quests. Here are a list of side quests that you can do, and they would give you a list of side quests in the caption, 50 or 100 side quests that you can do. Side quests is the terminology, the nomenclature that we use but at the end of the day, it's a way of finding meaning, just trying out new things, right? That seems to be the most practical way, at least to me. Just trying out things. So these side quests would include things like, and interestingly, all of these side quests would be uh, various ways to express yourself artistically, like draw a picture, sketch something, write a song, sing a song, write a story, write a movie or something like that. Make a short film. So these kind of quests they call it. So um, that's the thing. So the most practical way I feel to find meaning in life is to explore, to do new things, to do as many things as possible. And this is another thing that I think Friedrich Nietzsche talks about, although I'm not 100% sure about it, since I haven't read his books, but I think he has talked about something like this. Um, so again, I'll roughly paraphrase Friedrich Nietzsche. He says that in order to find your natural calling or your purpose, you must look back at the things that you've done. Uh, and what was the thing that really excited you, that you really found? I mean, you found you were very happy doing that thing, or you were full of energy, or you were full of zeal, or full of life when doing that. You pursue that as the purpose of life. But I feel, why look back? Why not continue to explore, as these side quests are a way of exploration and a way of finding meaning in life. I've yet to explore what how does Lego therapy works, but it comes under psychotherapy. So it's probably just asking questions, but I'm not sure. I'll have to explore that. So that's Victory Frankl for you. Um, and this um apart from that, the other thing that I'll cover here is one quote that I really like when it comes to existentialism is um, is in all weathers, under all sky, man's happiness is always somewhere else. This is a pessimistic stance on existentialism. Uh, I forgot whose quote this is. I can't pronounce his name, but I know his last name is Leopardi, but Italian philosopher, I feel. But I'm pretty sure I butchered the last name as well. But in any case, the quote is very interesting because at the end of the day, it's very similar to grass is greener on the other side, or and there is no other side. There is always another side, and hence there is no other side. Hence there is no greener side, and hence there is no happiness. So a man's uh, happiness is always somewhere else, and hence a man cannot be happy. That's my interpretation. That's a pessimistic stance, and I personally, again, this is something I feel, because given this one of, I'm sure there would be many ways to find purposes in life, but one would be to try out new things and try them out, give each of them quite some time to overcome the learning curve and start enjoying it. And if you don't, move on to the next thing, and if you do, stay with it. But even if you stay with it, that's the paradox. Even if you stay with it, you would feel uh, happiness, or you will be full of energy, or it would seem on the surface that it is the next big thing. uh, it can be uh, the purpose that you were looking for, but it becomes, until you hit that you hit that flat line, until your brain gets used to it and doesn't excite you anymore, and that's it. You would have to move on to the other thing. So it feels like a never ending process. So with me, what happens is that I wouldn't know what my purpose is or meaning of life is, because uh, I would feel happy and I would feel um, excited when upon trying out something new, but it would only last until it's new and until it's challenging. After a while, it becomes old and it becomes normal, and that is the regularness of that aspect of life, right? Because if you look back, if you take a step back and look at our lives, um we shouldn't have embarked on this unending quest for life. We shouldn't have possessed this thirst of finding meaning of life. We shouldn't have embarked on this unending quest for finding the meaning of life in the first place, because life itself should have been self sufficient for us. Yet, life feels the void, life feels empty. And when you try to stack things up in life, and when you stop at a certain point, that would be the new benchmark, and it would again become empty after some time. And hence, there is no escaping this existential dread, and hence there is no escaping this suffering. And hence I'm stuck on this uh, Schopenhauer's take that life is insatiable striving, and striving entails suffering, and hence you're bound to suffer. And that is another reason I like the quote: in all weather, under all sky, man's happiness is always somewhere else. Yeah, thank you.